We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for over 90 years.
We're more than just a law firm. We're your friends, your neighbors, an advocate when life takes an unexpected turn.
We're not just lawyers that practice law. We live in this community, just like you.
When you need us most, we're at our best.
Fee, 5-4, nothing to a giant. Waited my turn, call it perfect time and trust the most high. Got the stars aligning, I was tapped in. I've been strategizing, dreams coming true. I've been fantasizing while you criticize. Pay attention to the signs, symbolize. Feel like a legend, they go idolized. Ayy, I'm a hero, wear my cape. Independent leader made a way. I'm the people's voice, your purple parade. Stuck to my pace, the turtle win the race. The trophies on trophies, views from the townscape. Change is great freight, then I had to skate. God told me time to go elevate. Chosen child, I'm the champ now, not a featherweight.
At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili and has been for nearly 100 years since we opened in 1923. We helped put Newcastle on the map as the hot dog capital of the world. Visit our store, place an order for pickup at mpconeyisland.com, delivery with DoorDash, or find the grocery store near you with our chili locator on our website. Want to own your own MP Coney Island? Now you can with our franchise system. At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili.
Welcome to the first episode of Crafted Conversations, hosted by myself, Rodney, and Eric. And today's guest is sitting with us. His name is Dave, and I'm sure everybody knows him. So welcome to the first of 12 podcast that we are starting up to bring all the entertainment segment together, hopefully over the next 12 episodes. Our guest today, I'm sorry, Eric, you have anything that you want to bring into this? And Eric is the owner of Neshannock Creek Brewing Company. Myself and Dave are the owners of Union Station Craft Distillery, and we are hosting this month's podcast at the distillery. So Dave Goldberg is the head distiller at Newcastle Union Station Craft Distillery. And Dave, we just wanted to start off and just say, you know, what kind of brought you into this business?
Well, I've been an aficionado of all different types of alcohol over the years. My first drink that I truly remember was as a 3-year-old, sitting on the porch with my grandfather, who was smoking cigars and drinking Slivovitz, which is an Eastern European drink and is, excuse me, all of you who like it, disgusting. But since then, I've done a lot of tours of distilleries. My relatives live in England. I've been to Scotch distilleries any number of times, through Kentucky, and just always had a desire to want to own my own distillery. And so after 30 years of being an academic, teaching at small liberal arts colleges, I decided to try something different.
Awesome. Eric, do you want to
what
add
are
something
some
to
of your
that?
favorite spirits, though?
Favorite spirits? Okay, I love bourbon. First things, I love a good bourbon, and either straight or in a mixed drink. I love Scotch, given the family history, that really helps. And then gin. It's one of the more difficult spirits to produce. Yeah. And I was always, and yes, I'm going to pat myself on the back, we did a wonderful job, which was, of all the products we produced, I think it was the most surprising for me.
And that's maybe the one you're most proud of?
Yes, yeah, because you never know when you make a gin, you're dealing with basically a grain neutral spirit that you're adding botanicals to get the flavor from. Well, when you pick your botanicals, you never know until it starts coming out what it's going to taste like.
Right.
And I know of any number of distillers who have tried to produce a gin and they've thrown batches away because it just comes out with a terrible taste.
Right.
We got very lucky. And we only used 5 botanicals in our gin. And I remember sitting as it was coming out of the still with Rod across the room, and I told him, if I don't like the taste, it's going down the drain. And I tasted it, and I smiled and looked at him. I said, we're done. We have a recipe.
Awesome.
And I do have to admit that I'm not a gin drinker at all, but I can drink this gin with no problems.
Huh.
It's not what I'm drinking tonight, but
Right. I'm a fan of your
next
rye.
trip we'll do that. This is this is the rye, which is actually probably another good experiment.
Oh yes.
When we first brought this out,
Yeah, that was the first basically all grain product that we produced, and it was an experience for us, especially we have a 400-gallon still, and we decided to do a 400-gallon mash.
Oh, wow.
And not realizing that with a 400-gallon still and roughly 1,000 pounds of grain in the still, almost overflowing the top of the mash tank.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it was a bit of a surprise,
Right.
but it turned out very surprisingly well. I think it's our best seller.
I think it's my favorite of everything you guys make.
It's definitely mine. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
But I'm a rye fan of all those spirits.
Yeah,
Rye would be my
rye's
favorite.
mine. I agree. So Dave, kind of give us what your approach is. I've kind of been watching you for almost a little over a year now of your philosophy towards distilling, and then your passion for it, and which kind of grows my passion for it too. You know, so but kind of give us a little bit of how you feel about what makes your thought process on making it.
I'm a traditionalist, and I think I've always been a traditionalist. I am not a fan of, let's say, flavored vodkas. Definitely not a fan of flavored bourbons, the honey bourbons, the spiced bourbons, and all of that. No, I just like a straight bourbon. So I believe in traditional processes. Don't believe in adding anything external to the process of mashing. So when we first started this, and Rod and I were talking, and there was a point at which we were talking about doing moonshine. I was adamantly opposed. The one difference between a good whiskey and a moonshine is that we get all our sugars from the grain itself.
Right.
We add no sugar to any of our product except for the one that you are allowed to, and that is rum. And then it's raw cane sugar, which is much different than white processed sugar.
Oh, yeah.
So what I believe in is following a traditional approach, cooking our grains for usually an hour and a half for the corn, approximately an hour when we do rye, and then using natural enzymes to break up the starches. And so that's a distiller's malt that we use to break up the starches. The only flavored product that we produce at this point is our gin, and that is, of course, flavored with natural botanicals.
Yes,
Right.
no doubt.
I'm a fan of that. I mean, I try to stick to traditional processes in my brewing as well. So I think maybe that's why I really like your guys' product.
Well, Eric, you know, it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the last year.
Yes.
You know, and
Yeah, we
looking
opened
forward to
at the
working
same
with
time.
you as we have been.
Yeah, we opened the same weekend, actually, same day.
Yes.
So, and then also in this podcast, we'd like to pull in other Lawrence County breweries, distilleries, wineries, also to get involved in this podcast, so that we can have 20 people sitting here,
Right.
you know, and hosted at a different place all the time.
Right.
Well, one of the things that this will help, and this is probably for any small craft brewery, distillery, winery, is to get your name out there and to get people off of the name brands and to try your product.
Correct.
Right.
And the more basically media that you have, the more people get to know your name, the more likely it is that they will in fact try your product. I mean, it's been one of the most difficult aspects for craft distillery, and I assume craft breweries, the same thing, is trying to get people, like for example our vodka, to get them to get off of their Tito's and try Gandy Dancer. We've had in one of our customers, one of our bars in the area, the owner had a blind taste testing with two of our customers who were vodka drinkers, and had them drink, didn't know it, Tito's and Gandy Dancer. and then select which one they liked. And both of them selected ours.
Nice.
But it's still hard to get them off of those name brands.
Speaking of Gandy Dancer, maybe go into a little bit of how that brand came to be, or how it was born.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Okay. When we were first looking into doing this, and that was almost 4 years ago when we started the process, and it does take a long time, so anybody who's interested in doing this, be prepared.
Yes.
We were looking at a number of sites to place the distillery. We were looking at an old beer distributor down the road from us. And then one day we were having lunch with the mayor of the city. It was Chris Fry at that time. And he just happened to mention that, in the way he put it, he said Clark's studio is going to be up for lease. And I had no idea what Clark's studio was.
Right.
Rod knew right away, and I saw his eyes light up. And so I said, sure, let's go take a look. What we found out is it's the old Newcastle Union Station.
Right.
So this was the old railway station. It was built in the early 1900s after the original station that was built before the Civil War burnt down. And so when we saw the building, we saw a lot of potential in the building.
Yeah.
It's just a well-constructed building and has atmosphere to it.
Yes.
We signed the lease and we went with the company logo name in reference to the station itself. So Newcastle Union Station, Craft Distillery, and the image on the logo is the station. When we decided to do our brand names, we were looking at names based upon railway stations. Yeah. And so one of the ones that we came up with was Gandy Dancer. And people always come in and ask, Gandy Dancer, what the heck, what is it?
Yes.
And we have to explain to them that Gandy Dancer was the name that they gave to the guys who laid the railroad tracks during the 20th century. Very late 1800s, early 20th centuries. They were nicknamed Gandy Dancers. We're not certain why, but we think because they used to get into a rhythm laying the tracks. And it was almost like a sing-song rhythm and a dance that they would get into. So they called them Gandy Dancers. So our logo, and probably you can't see this very well, our logo includes 4 guys laying tracks. They're Gandy Dancers. And that's our first brand.
That's our first brand. Eric, do you have any thing else that you might want to add towards the names or anything like that?
I'm just curious if are you thinking about other brands?
Oh yes, yeah. We have other ideas in mind, like a conductor series, an engineer series.
Nice.
We've looked through the list of different names for different functioning positions on the old railroad lines.
If I may add, the Union Station name.
And the
That's
Union
gonna
Station, that'll probably be our key product.
That'll be the
Top
key
of
Like
line.
the reserve type product. Because that was one of my questions I was going to get to was, what are your future plans as far as, where do you want to take this? Like what is, like now you're trying to get into bars and we were talking about the challenges that you have trying to overcome. Everybody's a fan of Tito's. You want to get your product in there. So where do you see yourselves going, taking this?
Well, our goal, I mean, this is doing fairly well.
Yes.
The cocktail lounge. We're allowed to have 4 of these external to our facility, and we're in the process of working with one with a restaurant in town. Because one of the issues, of course, in Pennsylvania is the liquor licenses for bars are limited.
Yes.
And they're commodities, and you end up having to pay an exorbitant amount to get a liquor license.
Right.
But a restaurant that wants a bar can use our license to allow us to establish a cocktail lounge like this, and we're allowed to sell our product and any Pennsylvania-made product.
Right.
On the basis. So we're working on a couple of those. Our long-term goal is to get into a number of bars in the area, and eventually outside of the area.
Right.
Our goal is to, probably the first state we might cross into is Ohio.
Nice.
We're working on that. Each state has different guidelines, different legality
Right.
for what you can do to sell there.
Right.
But we're working on it.
So you're looking for interstate distribution?
Eventually, yes. Yeah. I mean, our ultimate goal is basically to do like some of the larger craft distillers do, which is basically get their product in multiple states out there. I don't know about exporting yet.
Right.
I think the only way we might do that is when my cousin comes in from England. She'll take a couple of bottles back.
Although we have been approached by that.
We have been approached by somebody.
It's a whole
Yeah.
other
Right.
ballgame.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When you start looking at that. You know.
Right.
And another thing I know that we like to do is the fact that we've been working together.
Right. Collaborating.
And we plan on growing together, which is also part of our plan. And if, you know, to grow together and help grow, and be a part of Newcastle's redevelopment.
Help for
Right.
development. Yeah.
That's
I mean, we also have products that we're looking at to bring online. Like we just started a product called Keystone Rose and Rye. And Rose and Rye was the grain of choice in Pennsylvania to produce rye in the 20th century. And then it sort of went by the wayside. After the Revolutionary War, before the Revolutionary War, rum was the drink of choice. And that was because the Brits owned all the islands where all the sugar cane was produced. And so it's easy to get the sugar cane and produce rum. After the war, they wouldn't sell it to us. And so Pennsylvania was a perfect climate to grow rye. And Pennsylvania rye became the drink of choice. Basically, this is long before Kentucky bourbon even existed. And so one of the premier products was Rose and Rye in Pennsylvania. And so we're helping bring back Rose and Rye. We're doing a heirloom corn that we just got, Orange Creole. We're going to do a bourbon, Orange Creole bourbon. We have another number of other heirloom corns that we're looking at that we're going to try and see. So we got a number of products that'll come out in the future.
I love that aspect that you're utilizing, Pennsylvania products, and you're highlighting that, and historical products, or processes.
We like to use local products. Our malter is down the road in Butler. Where we've got our most recent corn from is a farmer just outside of Altoona, PA. Even our glassware is from Steel Light, which is a local Newcastle company.
That's awesome.
The wood to build this was from Baird Brothers in Ohio. We like to stay close at home. We get as much as we can. Certain things we can't. Our barrels, that was a problem. Although our barrel storage racks, or JB Mill does our barrel storage racks, and they do a great job for us.
Right. And that's the same. I try to follow that as well. I mean, whatever I can do locally, source locally, I'm going to try to do. And same with liquors. I mean, your product, you're right down the street. I'm highlighting your product.
So I think that the rye product, the Rose and Rye now, which is a little bit different product than what I'm used to working with, and it was like a little bit. Well, it was a lot. It was like sticky, right? I mean, so it was, it was a little bit different, but I'm sure the flavor will be where it needs to be at.
The flavor will be where it needs to be at. And if for all of those out there who watch Moonshiners, if you've ever seen paste up the cap on a still, That's rye. And the reason they use rye flour is precisely because it's sticky. And it forms this wonderful paste that it hardens when it dries.
Nice.
Dave, are you members of any of the organizations or, I'm sorry, that are out there, you know?
We belong and we belong to the American Craft Spirits Association, which was started by small craft spirit producers. It is, I think, the only nonprofit organization for small craft spirits. There's the ADI, the American Distillers Institute. That includes, though, everybody, including people of the size of Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. The American Craft Spirit Association, on the other hand, is basically geared to help promote small craft spirits. Right. At the end of Prohibition, there was probably less than 10 distillers in the United States. At this point in time, there are over 3,000 distillers in the United States. Of that 3,000, probably about 75 or 80% of them are distillers that produce under 400,000 proof gallons a year. That's small. They're not like, I mean, the Jim Beams, the Jack Daniels, they produce millions of proof gallons a year.
Yeah.
And the American Craft Spirits Association bends over backwards to help new craft distillers. It's one of the things that we found out. If anybody wants to get into this business, don't be afraid to go talk to owners of distilleries.
Oh, yes.
They are very open. They're very forthright. I mean, we went initially to Liberty Pole in Washington, PA, Jim Howe. He had us there. We were there twice.
Very nice people.
Very nice. We've been up to MLH in Grove City. We've been to Gervasi in Canton, Ohio, and we spent the day at Gervasi. They are always open to having you come, learn, ask questions. It's worth the trip.
I've found that the same in the brewing industry is same thing. I went to multiple breweries and did research, talked to brewers, etc., and they're very open to helping each other out. It's a very friendly business environment. You know, like we all get along.
It's not a typical dog-eat-dog world competitive nature. It's more that a rising tide helps everybody.
Right,
And
exactly.
And the way, you know, when we first started getting into this and started going and looking at all the different distilleries and stuff like that, you know, the very first thing that I noticed is how open everybody was.
Right.
I don't come from that background, you know, that's not the way it always is. Right. Everybody's always your competition.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a new way of thinking. Right. So, okay, this is not competition because everybody's here. If you need a hand, they're there to help.
And there are certain ones, of course, but in general, it's mostly like
I'm
that.
sure it works the same for you in your line at the breweries, you know, and that's why, you know, I feel that, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for us to show the rest of this city of Newcastle, you know, we could work together, right? And make a success out of everything. Right. That's the goal.
And it only helps us all in the long run. I mean,
right.
We want to build something here that we can all enjoy. You know?
Absolutely.
And why not?
And the community.
And the community.
Exactly.
So, not to mention the concert series that's coming up this Friday, and I'm not sure who the band is this week.
You got me too.
Anyways, it's been wonderful the past few weeks. On a Friday night down there, you get to see a lot of people that you only see at the concert series.
And the fireworks.
And then the fireworks festival coming on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's a busy weekend.
I'm looking forward to it.
You know, and we'll be set up down by you.
Yes.
And we'll all be together again.
And I think people are really liking that they're seeing these type of events, and they're seeing that our businesses in particular are working together to try to do something in town.
Exactly.
That's
positive.
One of the reasons why we selected this building and to move right downtown was because of desire to elevate
Right.
the district downtown so that people start coming downtown again. That we bring people back, that it gets to be like, I mean, in the early 20th century, this was the city in the United States that was growing at the fastest rate.
In the country.
In the country, okay? And it was, the streets were packed with people, there were things to do, and we are hoping, both of us, I'm sure, that other entrepreneurs will decide this is a great area to start something.
Right. And I think it's happening. I mean,
I don't want to interrupt
No,
you,
no.
but I want to ask both of you guys this question, okay? And I know some of the challenges that have occurred, but I'm sure you have encountered some challenges. It's not an easy task to get out there. Dave, you know that,
No.
and I'm sure you know that. I'd like to hear from both of you. You know, I kind of know what Dave's challenges are in the back of his head, but I want to hear yours. And
there's a lot of obstacles, you know, with licensing and stuff, as you guys know, but that's not really the big obstacle. The big obstacle is getting people to come back down to Newcastle.
That's
and,
a huge
you know,
obstacle.
Yeah.
And letting them know that we're here. There's stuff to do here. It's okay to come down. It's safe.
It's very safe.
Downtown is more safe than most places around.
absolutely, I agree with that.
I've never
100%.
even worried about walking around.
Yeah, I don't know. I walk the streets down here all the time, you know, and at night and in the day and in the morning.
But to me, that seems to be the biggest obstacle is spreading that word, getting that word out, getting people to like tell their friends, you know, it's okay. Like we've got things to do down here. Come down, check us out. You know, it's not just us. It's
you're in
you
good
guys.
company.
It's us. It's going to be a new restaurant that hopefully we're going to have very shortly, right down on East Washington Street, a Vietnamese restaurant. Asian restaurant. Okay, very shortly that's going to be open. We're talking to some of the owners of the buildings around here that what they need to put in, especially on the ground floor, are restaurants, comedy clubs, things to attract people in the evening so that people are not going to Boardman or not going to Hermitage or Pittsburgh. But do we have them here? Yeah.
Something for adults to do, grown up, you know, adult entertainment, you know,
I mean,
axe throwing, anything
we were told once by a councilman, I won't mention any names, that people won't come downtown. And yet we've been here on a Friday and Saturday night, and we've been, packed isn't the word.
Yes.
Okay.
So you know,
You should
people
have
will
seen our
come.
place last
Yep.
Friday.
It's you know, we're hoping that my hope is that the mindset of downtown changes.
I think it is.
And slowly but surely, we just got to keep plugging away at it. You know, with the help of city, county. If everybody comes together and makes a sense of community, I think it could start to make the change.
And I think certain council members, et cetera, are trying to do that. It's you know, it's hit or miss. You know, it's trying to change opinions on that side as well is a challenge.
Yes, it is.
You know, because a lot of people want the status quo, and we're trying to change that. You know,
I mean, we've got to the point now where we have regulars, and we got people who come down almost every night. We just recently had, and this was accidental, a father and son from Texas who were working in the area, basically inspecting natural gas storage facilities. And he came down the one day and had such a wonderful time, and because basically all we do is sit down here and talk and discuss.
Communication stable.
They were here for 6 weeks, And they were in almost every night while they were here.
That's great.
And that's the kind of atmosphere and vibe that we want and that we have.
And that's something
That's
too
the same
that we were
with Quincy.
trying to create is a certain vibe. Like I notice in here, there's no televisions.
No
There's
TVs.
stuff. It's a place for conversation.
Yes.
You know, it's the same at my place. It's like it's a place for people to come down and talk to your neighbors. You know,
And get to know each other.
And get to know each other.
You know,
Right.
That's, and I've noticed that because we share some of the same customers
Right.
too, right?
Oh, yeah. We have a
And-
lot of the same
and
customers.
The fact that you come to these places, you don't just come and not get to know who's sitting
Right.
beside you or sitting over there or sitting over there. You know everybody that's here. And once you're here 3 or 4 times, next thing you know, you're going to
Right.
It's
parties at customers' houses. right?
it's like our version of Cheers.
Yes,
Everybody
exactly.
knows your name.
Right.
So
Yes.
we got Joe the Sailor sits down there.
You got Joe.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got Joe.
So
We got the
yes.
Chamorros who come on a regular
We all have,
basis.
you know,
We got
it's
Michelle.
together
We
at the
got
same time, right?
you know.
And I think
yeah.
that's what people enjoy is
Yep.
they enjoy that when they come in. I recognize them. Like I know. I'm like, hey, welcome back. You know,
Exactly.
like
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to seeing them again. We're having a conversation. You know.
Well, we've gone through some of the challenges and we've gone through some of the aspects of the thing. The one question, Dave, has there been anything that in the distilling end of it, how would you, as far as innovation and things like that, as far as in the distilling, what would you like to see or what would you like to experience in this?
I mean, as far as innovation, I know, and this is the real hot topic, and especially the craft spirits industry, is what are called RTDs, ready to drinks.
Yes.
And ready to drink is basically a canned beverage.
Or bottled?
It's very popular.
No,
right now.
it's almost always canned beverage. It's a canned beverage, and they are almost always in the range of 15-20% ABV because of federal law and the way the federal law requires on them. They are sort of the hot commodity with especially the younger generation.
Yes.
They like that.
It's the same
As a
in the-
traditionalist, I'm not a fan of those. Okay, you know, if I want to have a gin and tonic, I want to make it myself. If I want to do an old fashioned, you know, I remember I was to Japan about 12 years ago, and on the street corner there was a vending machine that sold ready to drink cocktails, and I remember I got an old fashioned. Well, of course, it's what you'd expect of a can old fashioned.
Right,
It was not very good. I prefer to see a bartender make the drink
Right.
for me.
Which, by the way,
Well,
we have great bartenders.
But
Yeah.
that's the craft. That's part of
That's
the craft.
part of the
our
craft
industry.
aspect of
Yeah.
it. And as far as innovations or things in the future that I'm hoping in our industry changes, at this point in time, the U.S. Postal Service is not allowed to ship alcohol.
Right.
They're losing a ton of money as a result of this because FedEx and UPS will do it.
Yes.
All right. There's a law that has been proposed, and it's in the House and waiting to go through the House to allow them to do this. So I hope at some point in time that this doesn't get passed, or does get passed, and that it goes through, and then we can have another client base that we can deal with.
Do you guys do any shipping, ordering now?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. But
Not
you're
yet.
planning to.
Next,
Yes.
maybe latter part of the year,
Yeah,
something will start getting
Because you can
into
do
that.
mail
But
order, like yeah.
Our main goal is to get some of the basics. We have a couple more basics that we want to get done before the end of this year, and then move on to different things, right? And I think Dave feels the same.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, and it's going to be a learning curve for me, to make a coffee liqueur.
Yes.
We use, at this point, MLH's coffee liqueur. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
very good.
I've had some others. We use it in a couple of our mixed drinks, and it's very well done. I would love to learn to make that and do that.
I'm a
But
fan.
yeah, but for this point in time, I think it's going to be just, we're going to do different bourbons and different ryes that we'll bring out. Stick with our basics, the vodka, the gin. We have a dark rum that should be out very shortly. We'll probably do a spice
No
rum.
promises
I'm hoping
It's in the barrel now. It's been in the barrel for 6 months
6
now.
months
For
right
those of you that don't know, any colored alcohol that you drink, the bourbon, the rye, the rums, it gets its coloring from the barrel.
Yes.
That's the traditional way to do it. There are some companies that add coloring to their product.
Right.
In order to do that, though, you have to file with the federal government and get what's called a formula, and they have to approve
Right.
everything you do. If you just do the traditional charred barrel way, you don't have to get a formula.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same with brewing, the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. Speaking of barrels, I can't wait till you guys bottle that up, because I'd love to put some of my beer in that barrel.
We have a few empty ones over there. Actually, I think one's
so-
a bourbon and 2 ryes over there, I think.
rye and a
I may have
Yeah.
to hit you guys up for one of those, because I've been thinking of doing a rye beer as well. So, and speaking of barrels, I brought a taster of a barrel-aged beer
I'd
from a
love to
bourbon
try that.
barrel.
We'll try it.
I figured, since we're talking
You know me,
collaboration,
I'm game for anything.
this is an Imperial Stout that I have. And it's a McLaughlin bourbon barrel, unfortunately, because you guys didn't have
That's
bourbon
okay.
barrels.
That's okay.
You just
They're
got
good. They're
bourbon
good folks too. There, so
Yes, good. Another local guys, Sewickley. But they're moonshiners,
Yes, they do.
Whereas,
I'm
there you
excited.
go. So this, I think, it's been in the barrel for about 8 months.
First time in.
That's
Here's-
right. You're not a
here's
beer
the-
I've had one beer in 15 years.
Here's the
And
first.
that was a stout.
To the
yes.
first.
Yes.
So this will be the first since then.
First episode.
Oh, it's a nice one. Smell
Oh wow.
it. Ooh,
So you like?
that's good.
So
Yes,
is this
yes,
a sipping
that's
beer or
It's
is
more of a-
this a drinking beer?
It's more of a sipping beer, I mean, because it starts at 10% going into the barrel, and then it picks up a little bit of alcohol, pulling out
From
some
the
of that
barrel.
bourbon
Yeah.
out of the barrel.
Well, this is great.
I do like stouts.
Yeah, as you
I
can
do
see,
like
I sipped it.
I
Yeah,
do
you said
like it
you're a
with
Guinness fan.
a little bit of bite to it, flavor to it.
Yeah, that does.
This
That has
has
a good. That has a good flavor to it.
Little raisiny, but as far as like things going forward, that's one of my things. I'm trying to start more barrel aging program.
You got a winner here. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. It's better than the opposite.
I kind of like that.
Well, yeah, you're a bourbon guy, so.
No, I'm
I
a
would
rye
say
guy,
bourbon.
but this is
He's a
good.
rye. When I first met Rod, and this whole process started with him coming over to the house for pizza and rum and cokes. And quite a few rum and cokes that night.
Yes, we
and
did.
the next morning we got to talking, and the result has been this. That was 4 years ago. But when I first met him, he did not drink ryes or bourbons or gin.
Just
no.
rum.
I was a beer drinker.
And he would drink. He was a beer drinker. He
Wow.
would drink rum and cokes because that's what I had. I didn't have beer in the house. All right. Now though,
You've converted
his favorite
Is the rye.
is the rye. He's
That's-
been
that's-
convinced.
I've never had that before, and I have actually tried it several different places. You know, my brother's he has 4 or 5
Yeah,
different
Randy,
ryes.
yes, has a
And
few.
and other places, I have yet to taste a rye that tastes like this.
I'm a fan. I mean, I'm a big fan of ryes, and I've tried a bunch of different ones, and that one is. I like it.
It's
I mean,
very-
it's young, but it's smooth.
That's the key, right?
It's very drinkable.
It's very smooth and very drinkable. And
It
it's
mixes
great in
well.
Manhattans. It's great in old fashions.
It's a good
Yes,
mixer. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, so
And yeah, I'm of all your liquors.
so anything else you want to add to the podcast?
I think we kind of covered all the bases pretty much.
Well, I think it was
got a good
time.
introduction.
We got a good introduction. We got a good guest tonight. Two
Yes.
good guests. We can look at it. And next week I'll be again.
Right.
Next week when I'll be.
Next week we'll be at my place.
We'll be at your place, right?
Yep.
So that'll be a
Or
good
next
thing.
month, I guess.
Or next
Yeah.
month. Next month we'll be at Eric's place, the Shannon Creek Brewing Company, which is on South Mercer Street in downtown Newcastle, and Union Station Craft Distillery, Newcastle Union Station Craft Distillery, located on East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle also. We want to thank everybody for watching the podcast, and if you can get this podcast out and about, we would truly appreciate it, and we'll talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Next week or next month.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Thank you.
Salute, guys.
Cheers.
Here's to the future.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for over 90 years.
We're more than just a law firm. We're your friends, your neighbors, an advocate when life takes an unexpected turn.
We're not just lawyers that practice law. We live in this community, just like you.
When you need us most, we're at our best.